there's one young lady I wanted to introduce you all to and allow her to share her story and how she used the information here to help her grow her business. But there's also someone who has come to this summit, used the information to her good, and now has her own company. And without further ado, I would like to introduce you to Taisha Coopwood, the owner of Potty Pearls.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. As mentioned already, my name is Taisha Coopwood, and I'm the inventor and founder of Potty Pearls, which is a which is a portable product that enhances health and beauty by allowing individuals on the go to go number 2 without any detectable odor. And so in 2016, I got this idea from going into the restroom at work and being ultimately disgusted by the odor that greeted me. And so a couple of my coworkers really challenged me to use my chemistry minor and education in science to develop a product to be a solution to this problem. So in 2017, I came to the Milwaukee Business Now Summit, Entrepreneurial Summit, and I got connected with WIBIC. And so that spring, I took a Start Now business course, and in July of 2017, I launched the business Potty Pearls on an e-commerce website. And so last year, I returned back to the Milwaukee Business Summit. Q Elamine was actually on the panel talking about his work with Young Enterprising Society. I was able to apply and get accepted into the Blueprint program. I passed the boot camp portion, and I was the grand prize winner of the $10,000. So thank you. And then here I am now, my 3rd time at the Milwaukee Business Summit. I just signed my lease for my manufacturing space, and I also will be going full-time into my business starting June. So I'm just very thankful for Alderwoman Milele Coggs and what she's been doing just in the city. Her labor of love is not in vain, so I'm very grateful, and I just want to encourage you all to sit on the edge of your seats and anticipate and absorb and connect so you can take your business to the next level. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's give it up for Taisha one more time. I know it's others here who may have some similar stories. So I encourage you all to share. The way I got connected with Taisha is because she actually did her testimony on Instagram, and I saw it. So we wanted to connect with her to allow her opportunity to share with you. So please share it with us. As we do this every year, oftentimes sponsors and others wonder, what's the real impact? Well, she is just one example of what the real impact of us gathering on this cold Saturday can be for those who use the information. As the panelists come to their seats, I want to introduce to you the moderator for today. There are bios on the back of your programs for each of the panelists, and they'll be introduced to you today, and the moderator. I'm not going to read her extensive bio to you. I will just say this. Usually when we moderate this part, we try to get somebody who's experienced in communications, TV, radio, or print, because we don't want to just be talking. We want some useful information to come out of the conversation. So as we tossed around names of who could possibly do it this year, you know, one of the most community connected people in that communications field, and who's always there when you need and want them to be from a community standpoint to support, even if it isn't to moderate, is this young lady here, who I happen to also be able to call a soror of mine. So without further ado, I will introduce to you the moderator for today's panel discussion, Ms. Andrea Williams, air personality from GMN 98.3.
Thank you so much. Can we please give it up for Alderwoman Milele Coggs, please? Yeah. This is a pretty amazing event each and every year. She's been doing this for 8 years now, and that definitely deserves an applause. She came together with a group of city employees, and it continues to grow each and every year, and hopefully the goal today is for you to be able to walk away with some information that's going to help you, but more than anything, if you're already in business, you walk away with some key things to help grow your business, or if you're thinking about going into business, this panel of outstanding local entrepreneurs will give you some inspiration and motivation to go ahead and get the ball rolling. That's what it's all about. So today's sponsors include the City of Milwaukee, U.S. Bank, and King Drive bid number 8. So, can we get started? This, as you know, is the MKE Business Noun Entrepreneur Summit. And the definition of entrepreneurship is the activity of setting up a business or businesses, taking on financial risk in the hope of profit. Those key things will make a lot of people stop. The word risk and hope. Yes. And then an entrepreneur is defined as a person who identifies a need and starts a business to fill that void. That's a whole different way of seeing it, because if there's a void of what's needed, whether it's in your community or just in the city in general, then if you have the skills and the know-how, you very well should take on that I guess you should say challenge to make it happen. So let's meet our panel of entrepreneurs who have joined us today. I'm going to start right from my left. Joanna Brooks is the owner of Embody Yoga. Nick Robinson is the founder of Dream Builders. Tiffany Miller is the owner of Fly Blooms and the Bronzeville Collective. Truman McGee is the founder of Funky Fresh Spring Rolls. Terrell Harris is the owner of Words and Images. Always in a Milwaukee state of mind. And last but certainly not least is Jonathan Dye, who is the owner of Mr. Dye's Pies. All right, can everybody hear me okay? All right, so what we'd like to do is kind of get each of the entrepreneurs to kind of tell us a little bit about their business and how they got started. And if we can, keep it as brief as possible so we'll have time for a number of things today. Starting with Joanne.
My name is Joanna Brooks. I'm the owner of Embody Yoga. I started my business 3.5 years ago with the intention of sharing the practice of yoga with people of color. And so I bootstrapped my way to where I am now. I started pretty lean. It was just myself. I rented some space at another local yoga studio, and I just kept showing up week after week after week, to the point now where we've been able to serve over hundreds of people, the majority of whom identify as people of color. And most recently in November, we opened our very own brick and mortar yoga studio.
Hi, I'm Nick Robinson. I am actually a co-founder of Dream Builders. Sorry. Dream Builders actually started out because of like a lack of, and what I mean by that is basically when I got licensed as an architect in 2015, I was actually only the 8th African American that had been licensed in the state of Wisconsin's history. And like that's, to be honest with you, I mean, I appreciate the applause, but I was like, that's like sad, right? Like, I mean, because there's a lot of people that's designing these buildings, but if none of them look like us, how they know what we like? You know, so you wonder why stuff don't work. So I kind of, you know, say, you know what, I mean, it's about time. I have been practicing since I was in high school. So I said, you know what, it's time for me to kind of branch out. So a year ago, I actually branched out on my own and have been doing a little bit of educational programs, just teaching youth to take an idea and bring it to life. So once we, you know, got to the point where we say, you know, let's actually do some real brick and mortar. Let's actually, you know, to take your pun, by the way, and let's actually, you know, make an impact and not have to ask nobody permission of what we need to do, like what you already know. So that's what made me really just branch out a year ago, and you know, just been kind of doing architecture, planning, and education ever since.
Good afternoon. I'm Tiffany, the owner of Fly Blooms, a handcrafted adornments boutique in the city of Milwaukee, which focuses on flowers, scarves, clutches. I make it easy for people to add color to their wardrobe. And I'm also the co-founder of the Bronzeville Collective. a boutique focused on Black and brown makers in the city of Milwaukee. Yes, clap it up. It's a beautiful space that creates space for people of color too, so they're handmade adornments on a regular basis. So please check us out. Got flyers, all of that fun stuff after the panel.
Hello everyone, my name is Truman. I'm owner and head roll master at Funky Fresh Spring Rolls. We sell non-traditional spring rolls, never deep fried, cooked in healthier premium oils or baked in healthier premium oils. We have flavors like buffalo chicken and kale, chicken club, sweet potato, black bean. We just opened up our location inside the Sherman Phoenix off 36 in Fond du Lac. So just real quick on how our business got started. It started actually from another business I had called Getting Tired Fitness. And what I was doing is my clients were having a hard time finding healthier meals after the workouts. So I started making food for them myself. And then the food became more popular than the workouts. And my clients quit working out with me and say, I just buy your dinner instead. So from there, I seen the need, fill the void of healthier foods. And we started, at the farmer's market, started with my family. They're gonna keep it real with you. And then started doing farmer's markets and festivals. And I found myself where the food business was making more income than the fitness. So I took a leap of faith and I just went all in with the food, and now I'm speaking to you guys, so it's pretty cool.
Hello, my name is Terrell Harris, the owner of Words and Images, the creator of the Milwaukee State of Mind t-shirt. Some of you may have seen that t-shirt. We've also created the Black on Black Business t-shirt, one of which I have on today, and other products like the I Love My People t-shirt, Black Woman Thank You t-shirt, Black Man Thank You t-shirt, and a host of others and more to come. We started about 4 years ago. We'll be celebrating 4 years this February 2015. And the way yes, thank you. The way I got started was basically tragedy and realizing, there's lessons to be learned in tragedy. And realizing out of that I needed to have more self-determination and self-reliance and just creating for myself so that you can have a stronger foundation to stand on. When you're building it, you're creating it, it gives you a stronger foundation to stand on. So that's how we started. And I've always had aspirations to help my community reach its fullest potential. Just believing in my community, believing in Black people, believing in individuals with dreams. And so that's why we make the shirts that we do with the messages that we have, is to help draw out the value in individuals as well as communities. So it's kind of like coupling my purpose with also a profit.
Hello, I'm Jonathan Dye. I'm the founder and owner of Mr. Dye's Pies, and I'm really excited about being here. I was here at the inaugural event. I think it was 8 years ago, and it's awesome to be back. And I got a lot of information that we put to great use. I think for those that are sitting there looking to get started, I think the most important thing you'll leave with from here is to get started. When we get started, the rest becomes easier. But my story is very quick. My grandmother, when I was young, she did not kick me out of the kitchen. So I learned a lot from her. And I sold investments for 10 years and a bunch of other stuff as a salesperson. So I knew I could sell the product. I knew that I baked the best sweet potato pie on the planet. And we got started. I think that was the most important thing that we did. And this last month, USA Today, they picked the best pie shop for each state, and they picked us for Wisconsin.
And now that you've had the opportunity to meet all of these outstanding entrepreneurs, really we want to be able to get some tips for you to become a successful entrepreneur. So what I'm going to do is mention one thing that I feel is probably important. If one of you, or more than one of you, feels that you would like to expound on that or give some information or advice on how to go about doing that, then just raise your hand and we'll get the mic to you, okay? So starting off with a solid business plan. We know that you have to define your skills and weaknesses, what you offer, and how it's unique. So if someone would talk about how they went about creating that business plan. Spring roll. He didn't bring me any today. A little disappointed. That's all right. I needed some pie too, but that's all right.
Usually I carry spring rolls with me everywhere I go.
In your back pocket, right?
People be like, you got spring rolls? I'm like, today? Yes, I do. But, so the business plan, this is something that's so important to me because you need to have some sort of blueprint, some sort of map to where you're gonna go. And for me, if you like me, like a business plan could seem just daunting or whatever. And it took me literally like a year to even just get started. I would like write, all right, funky fresh, and then I'll be like, all right, I'll come back to it later. And when I like finally got tired of myself and procrastinating, it literally took me like 2 weeks to do. So honestly, Wibbick really helped me out. They gave me like a template, and Amber Miller over at Wibbick, she helped me, and I got it done literally in like a week and a half. And I was just so upset, like, dude, I spent all this time or whatever, and it was really just me getting out of my way. But I know we always think that this business plan got to be this big document, and it really doesn't. You know, if you're going to show it to an investor, they're going to really look at the story, they look at the financials, and they might skim through the rest. But honestly, for me, I update it every year. Just, you know, have a good idea of who your customer is first and foremost. You got to identify your customer, their habits, how much they're going to spend, where they live at, what they look like, you know, all those things. So identifying the customer, having a good solid foundation on what product you're selling and where you're going to sell it. Those are just some basic things to create a business plan. I am proud to say I've got 3 business plans done within the last 2 years, and it took me like X amount of years to do just one. So just get out there and start. Like say you got places like Wibbick who make it really simple for you.
WBIC is Wisconsin Women's Business Initiative Corporation, for those who are wondering. And then anybody else want to talk about a business plan, or we can? Okay, Joanne.
So I started my business plan probably about 2.5 years ago. It is still not complete. And so going back to this idea of just starting, I think sometimes the idea, as Truman mentioned, of writing out a full business plan can be daunting and discouraging for some people. So start whatever it is that you want to do. Have an idea, have a passion, know who your audience is, who your market is. Now, I wouldn't say that it's not important to have a business plan. Some of your funders will require a business plan of you before they will fund your business. However, the part that I found most helpful to me as I started to write out my business plan was identifying what is my mission, what is my vision, who am I trying to serve, and why. And really sitting with that, wrestling with those questions and coming up with the answers, I think has served me and Embody Yoga really well over the years. I have not sought outside funding for my business. I literally started with what I had and just saved and moved on from there. And I think there are a lot of organizations and funders who will look at how much you've brought in from your business and how much you've earned, and use some of that information also to make a decision about funding. So just keep that in mind also.
All right, and Joanna and I have had conversations in the past, and you know, some of you might be guilty of this. Black people don't do yoga, right? But she saw past that and realized that there are so many benefits to yoga. You hear people say, oh, I have diabetes, back pain, asthma, whatever the case. If you really Google the benefits of yoga, there are so many ways that it can help you, even with your mental stress that you might deal with at work or even just life in general. So she recognized that and has filled that void, opening up that possibility for people who thought it was not for them. Also, you were encouraged at a young age to start doing yoga, as well as Jonathan started at a young age cooking. So sometimes it's in you and you don't even know that it's something that you might grow into something bigger and actually be able to make a living from it, right? I guess you all would agree with that. So we'll move on to financial challenges. Yes, because the truth is, most small businesses that have been surveyed, they say that cash flow was by far their biggest challenge. Who wants to talk about how you quit a job where you know you're guaranteed a certain amount of money every 2 weeks and say, okay, I'm gonna do this, not knowing how much money you're gonna make or if you're gonna make any money at all? That's a scary step.
Hello? Well, considering I did that about a year ago, I feel like I'm in it right now, so I figure I'd give you guys like the crash, like, okay, this is what's actually going on, and then let one of these esteemed individuals actually tell you what to do next. But basically, so when I quit my job, actually, my son, he was 3 months. I just got married about a year ago at the time, and it was, you know, it wasn't probably the best idea at the time, but I had some time to think. You know, you're out on paternity leave for just a quick minute before they start emailing you. But you know, you know, so I had some time to think, and I said, you know what? When am I going to do it? I said, if I don't do it right now, when am I going to do it? When I go back to work and get comfortable again? Like, I knew the job I had at the time gonna have me traveling a lot, and I was like, there's no way I'm about to be that absentee father. Like, not happening. So it was just like, if I'm not gonna do it now, then I'm not gonna do it. So I just literally started to accept contracts, and I said, you know what, when I have X amount of money, I'll quit. And it just happened a lot quicker than usual. However, so check this out. If you start your business and it starts going really well at the beginning, save. Save. Or save and invest in things that are going to allow you to get more money. Some people, I'm not gonna spend $1,500 on a computer. You know what? I'll spend $4,000 on a computer because I'll get that back next month, right? Because if the computer's that good, it's gonna put out that good work. I mean, think about delays. How many times does technology hinder us from getting work done? Like, invest, like, save and invest. And also, just understand the true term of ebb and flow. Like, ebb and flow is like saying it's good right now, but it could be way worse than what you thought it could be later. You know, but it's fine. That's like natural. But if you, just like the stock market, I mean, those people that invested, you know, in Pixar and Disney and all those companies, when they were just like these starters, like, they're like billionaires now, you know, well, not billionaires, but millionaires. But, you know, things recover over time if you just hang in there. So if you really think about just this whole getting started, jumping into it, like, it is about weathering the storm. So having, you know, X amount of capital up front is great. If not, you know, just being very smart with what you do get is just that other, you know, because I had to, right? So sometimes you just got to do something. So it's just a matter of, you know, being disciplined and trusting the process.
All right.
So I am one of those multi-purpose individuals and haven't quit yet. I am a full-time special education teacher and also creating for Fly Blooms and also managing the Bronzeville Collective, which happened really fast. So Fly Blooms has been in business for almost 7 years. It'll be 7 years in June. So vending at various markets, that was my life. Bastille Days, Tulsa Farmers Market, just popping up everywhere. And then Rise happened and Pop-Up MKE happened. And Pop-Up MKE allowed me 30 days in a retail space for free with some grant incentives and everything. It was a beautiful experience, which turned into a permanent experience. And I'm still working full-time and creating for Fly Blooms and managing this space. And I'm still doing all the things, and I still love all of the things, and I'm still finding purpose in teaching, but I'm also finding purpose in creating space for Black and brown people in the heart of the city of especially in Bronzeville. So if you're like me, like, eventually I'll relinquish teaching, but for now, I know my Black and brown babies at my school need me, and I need to still pour into them. And as long as I'm learning to rely on my business partners, right? which is difficult. With cash flow, also, I didn't have any overhead. I was working out of my home and creating out of my home, and now I have a lease and rent and utilities and internet for a totally different space outside of my home, and that's new. So you have to plan. So I don't want to dip into my personal funds to support my business, and I'm lucky to say that I haven't had to do that. If I don't have it in my business account, I'm not gonna purchase an item, or I'll look and see what I have. And I have an abundance of material at home I can work with and create with. So that discipline really comes into play. I just invested, I've invested in an Apple product. I'm an Android girl, but I invested in an Apple product recently, and I'm like, my productivity has just increased by 1,000 with this device. So definitely invest in technology that's gonna make working much easier. But make a small investment. I see a lot of people ask for investments for their business, and it's not even up and running yet. And if you're not gonna take a moment to invest in what you have first, why would somebody else be motivated to invest in what you're creating? So if it's $50 or $100, a lot of people think it takes so much to start a business. I started with flowers. That was probably a $50 investment. And I made money, reinvested, and built this business. So I haven't had to take out a loan or anything like that. You can, if I get to that point, it will be for infrastructure purposes or to hire some people. But, and I want to have that growth for myself and for my partners. But invest in yourself is my biggest thing. And don't spend it if you don't have it.
That's great advice. I want you to pass the mic down to Terrell, if you would. So at this point, I want you to talk a little bit about networking, building relationships, word of mouth, because you can probably name 5 people on your one hand who you know makes t-shirts. But Terrell found something that stood out, Milwaukee's state of mind, to the point where he was able to collaborate with the Milwaukee Bucks. He's been able to collaborate with Summerfest, and people around the city recognize when they see his product. If you would talk about the importance of being able to build relationships and network.
Yes, well, there's a number of things that go into that. One of the main things I did when I first started was I put my product in front of the faces of customers and potential customers. About 4 years ago, I was everywhere doing different markets, and the product, I wasn't just trying to sell a product, but I was trying to improve my community. So part of the networking was that you're connecting with your customers and potential customers, but also part of it is that you're serving a need that the community has, which is adding value to the community. And when you do that, people can feel that energy. They can see your intentions, and sometimes they reach out to you. You know, there were a lot of individuals that also reached out to me while I reached out to other individuals, and then there were a lot of individuals that went to bat for me to get me involved in some of the organizations and the different things that I've collaborated with. Like, there were people that helped me with the Milwaukee Bucks. There were people that helped me with Summerfest. So when you're willing to make a decision from the beginning, I'm not going to be afraid to represent my people. I'm not going to be afraid to use the word black. I'm not going to be afraid to incorporate the colors red, black, and green instead of colors that represent other people's nationalities. People want to connect with that and be a part of that. And then you begin to sow seeds and you begin to build relationships, and you can draw on those relationships continually.
Thank you so much. And if you would just pass the mic right over to Jonathan. Pros and cons, that's a huge thing when you talk about starting business. Some of the pros would be you make more money than you could possibly than working for someone else. So talk about what has been the pro and the con for you.
I think the biggest pro is I've become like an example of like what you can accomplish. And I think years ago I made a decision that this pie company was going to exist, and there'll be times where you willing your effort to exist is going to be the only thing that keeps it going. And I think especially for the young folks and for the adults as well, we have to realize that we can make decisions that can impact our world, and it can affect the community, and just by being one of those examples. The largest pro is, in addition to that, is my cousin Jerron. That helps me the most. He's been helping me for, even before we started the company, he would help me. If I needed, if I was shoveling snow or something, I would call Ronnie to get a little help. Or if I needed, I had a big cleanup job at the house to do, I would call my cousin Ronnie to help. And the ability to have, to work with him closely and to see his growth is it's unbelievable. We'll do a documentary about it one day, but just to see Jerron, the impact we've had on Jerron is unbelievable. But I think that's the biggest pro.
Okay, what about a con?
Con is, sometimes you're working very long hours, and the hours are, it doesn't feel like it all the time because you're doing something you're very passionate about. If you're working for somebody else, sometimes you're counting the hours. You don't count the hours as an entrepreneur the same way. But sometimes you'll notice it's very difficult to get free. Saturdays and Sundays, especially Saturdays, all the big markets are on Saturdays, especially in the winter. So it comes at we have to do some maneuvering even to be here today with you guys. And when it's stuff important, you make time for it. And so sometimes you have to plan ahead, plan better to make sure you're spending that time with your family.
All right, thank you. Let's give the mic. I want to make sure we hear from all of our entrepreneurs today. So Truman, one of the tips would be to never stop learning. Talk about that concept.
That right there alone is huge to me. I mean, even being at an event like this is learning. Making mistakes is learning, unfortunately. But if you look at mistakes as learning, you're okay with making them because you'll get through eventually. I used to coach wrestling, and we call them wins and lessons, never losses, because you learn so much more from a loss any day, So we lose as an entrepreneur, you lose a lot, but you hopefully learn. Sometimes you don't learn, but you eventually get it. And for me too, just basic stuff, reading books. I hate that I waited 30 years to start reading books. Dang, man, I missed out. Like, dang, but still, reading a lot of books. Sharing information with your peers, podcasts. Those are my go-to ways to learn in 2019. And like I said, those three things: learning, losing, podcasts, books, watching other people's mistakes is huge. If you could learn from someone else's mistakes, it's like a double win. So those are just basic things that we all know and that you just got to kind of go after to continue to learn.
Thank you for sharing that. We're going to hand the microphone to Nick. And something that I guess would be pretty important is being able to find a trusted mentor, regardless what type of business you're investing in. Talk about who was your mentor and how they helped you.
To be honest with you, I feel like I have a lot of mentors, because if you think about, there's so many senses of yourself. I mean, there's your professional self, there's your personal self, there's your social self. And what I'm learning is that you need mentors in all those categories, and you need to be around people that are going to help you develop in all those categories. So it's about, I'm huge into just getting to know yourself. So then when it comes to mentorship, don't underestimate that concept of you are the company you keep. If you think about it, if the people around you are doing something, subconsciously they're creating an environment that will make you eventually feel like that's okay. Don't underestimate it. You strong, but But habit is something special. Like mountains are formed by drops of water. Think about that. Like that move rock. So if you think that you're so impenetrable, like that mentorship is, I mean, you can learn from somebody even younger than you. Like my son, like he's just like me, but he's basically doing all the things that I try to correct, and I'm realizing just like, why am I fighting the flow? So you can learn something from anybody, but ultimately when it comes to mentorships and making sure you're putting yourself around people that that actually you're not gonna question when they give you information or correct you. I think that's the biggest thing. Because that's when you know that that person could be a mentor for you, because you actually respect them enough to understand that their knowledge base is greater than yours, and also they're going to direct you in the path in which you are trying to go down. So that's like true mentorship to me. So that could be anybody. That could be somebody young. That could be somebody your same age. That could be that person that's been upside your head since you was like 12. Like that could be anybody. But ultimately, like just make sure that that person or those people are present.
And we'll give the microphone to Joanna, because a couple of people mentioned the fact that when you go into business for yourself, you're not necessarily clocking in at 9 and leaving at 5. It's just not that simple sometimes. So if you would, Joanna, talk about the importance of taking care of number one, being able to still do what you love, go after that dream, but you still got to eat, you still got to probably do a little exercise, and know when it's time to relax. And because you are the queen of relaxation, please help us out.
Thank you for asking that question. I think it's really important. So I think part of the reason why a lot of people are interested or get into entrepreneurship is because they want to be free, right? Like you don't want to work for somebody else and have them tell you when to arrive and when you can get off and what to wear and when you can take a break and eat. And so that was like a huge draw for me in terms of becoming an entrepreneur. I wanted that freedom to decide what my day would look like and how it would go. And then I actually became an entrepreneur, and I realized I had less control than when I was working for someone else, right? Because instead of having one boss, your entire customer base really is your boss, and you have to respond to them and meet their needs and their requests. But one thing that I've learned over the years is that it's really important to carve out time for yourself, for the basics, right? To like catch meals and to take care of personal hygiene and things like that. But then beyond that, I think when you put so much into your business and you dedicate so much time to it, there's the potential to resent it to a certain extent. And the prison that you were trying to get away from by starting a business, you've created for yourself with the business that you founded. So I am now very protective of my time. I think as an entrepreneur, one of the benefits is that for the most part, you can decide what your hours are and how often you work. And so I tell myself now, I won't work for more than 6 hours a day. That includes the classes that I teach. And then also I won't work for more than 4 days a week. Periodically, like here and there, I'll have to like respond to an email, an urgent email or a phone call or something like that. But I set those boundaries. I've taken Facebook Messenger off of my phone because people would message me at 11 o'clock at night asking about the schedule for Embody Yoga or trying to sign up for classes, and I found myself responding. On a more personal note, more recently, I entered into a relationship. And so when you're with someone else, they hold you accountable. Like they want your time, deserve your time too, especially as you're growing together. So even that has helped me set those boundaries for my business. And then luckily for me, the business that I have encourages wellness and self-care and mindfulness and all of those things. And I can't be successful in preaching that and teaching that to other people if I'm not practicing it myself. So me actually carving out time to get on my mat helps me be successful as a teacher, and my success as a teacher has a direct impact on my business.
Thank you. And I think we all can take that advice no matter what we do for a living, right? So what I want to do is give a couple of you and whoever would like to share some advice to the audience today. What advice would you give to someone who's Jonathan's ready for the microphone. What advice would you give to someone who is in business for themselves or would like to start a business?
One piece of advice, when you're getting started, and this goes to finding those mentors and finding people around you that are going to encourage you. In the beginning, two things. The first is to understand that everyone in your circle, they have an image of you. So when you first get started, they might not look at you as this master pie baker. Maybe they didn't know that about me. If you're going to start, and maybe so they're going to take, especially your family, they're going to look at you like that's little Jay. And so now I show up and I say, I'm going to start this pie company and it's going to be great, and we're going to do this, we're going to do that, and I'm looking for you to support me. They may not get on board right away. But one thing you do need to know is that they will get on board. Some of your family members might be the last to get on board, and they'll be the most proud of you when they do. And the other thing is, you reach out to the folks that would be the mentor, that would be that person that can help you, that institution that can help you. I walked into Susie's Cheesecakes about 2 years in, or 2.5 years in, maybe 3, and I had been in the Journal Sentinel. We were very lucky. We've been lucky that we've been blessed with a lot of great publicity. And I walked in there one morning, I had a couple slices of my purple monster pie. It's a Okinawan purple yam sweet potato pie.
Yes, Lord.
And I walked in there and asked to speak to the CEO. I didn't know who the CEO was or anything like that. And he was on his way to a meeting. And because we had just been in the paper, he had just read about me, and he was more excited to meet with me than I was to meet with him. So sometimes I wouldn't have known that. The car I was driving to get there, it didn't start when I got out of the meeting. Wow. But going there, you wouldn't know that. I walked in and he said, "Oh, he's here? Tell the folks that I'm meeting with I'm going to be late. I'm going to meet with him for 15 minutes. So he came in, and I've met with them several times. And some of us aren't familiar with Susie's Cheesecakes. They started probably 35 years ago. When I first walked in there, Mark told me that they were doing $1 million a week just to Sam's Club. And they've been extremely instrumental in helping. I reach out and they help. Sometimes they're busy. I'll come back and reach out another time. But don't look around at the people around you and get disappointed and discouraged, because sometimes they're looking at you like you're little Jay, and sometimes your family, no matter what you go and accomplish, you're still gonna be little Jay no matter what happens. So as you make this decision that this is what you're gonna do, you start building some energy, you start building this energy around you. And what will happen is, in the beginning, you look around and they say that you are the company that you keep. But the one thing they don't teach enough is that as you become that person that's necessary to make this business a success, the people who are like-minded and the people who are going to help you, they're going to be attracted to you. And you'll look around in 3 years, you'll look around in 5 years, you'll look around in 6 years, and you got everybody you need right there. Sometimes it's you get disappointed, you get discouraged, and also too, I want to discuss real quick about the level. You have to be your biggest cheerleader, and you have to know, because what you make that decision that this business is going to exist, we're going to do this. Make sure that part of that decision is that we're going to do this on a high level, and we're going to be the best at what we do. And it doesn't have to be the best, but if you don't, it's going to be damn good, and we're going to be solid. And once you do that, everything else will fall in place, and that including everybody else's energy, and focus on energy that you always put out. Make sure it's always positive. Sometimes we give too much credence to negative situations. I had a person tell me one time that I was selling slices of pie, and he told me that $16 for a sweet potato pie was crazy. I was raping the community, and so when people have these negative comments and they attack you, and it will happen. It's sometimes you give too much energy to that. You pay attention to that. It's kind of quick to make you forget about the 200 people before that told you, man, this is the best pie I ever tasted. This is unbelievable. Keep doing what you're doing. And make sure you stay positive. You stay true to what you're doing. And everything else will follow suit. All the people you need, they're coming. even if you don't know them today.
Thank you. What I would like to do, did anybody else have quick advice?
Sure. Yes. I would say take some time out to figure out who you are. Statistics show that most people don't know exactly what they want to do with their life. So don't just chase a profit or try to start something just to make a profit. Take some time out to figure out who you are, what you want to serve to the world, what you want to serve to the community, and begin to develop that and refine it, and then begin to take the steps, go on the journey of believing in yourself more and more each day, each month, each year, because you're going to have to believe in yourself more and more and develop the things that you need to develop. Reach out to the people you need to reach out to. Go into the situations that make you vulnerable and make you afraid in order for your business to continue to grow.
All right, what I'd like to do is at least have enough time to get some questions from the audience, because I'm sure you guys have given outstanding advice and shared some great information today. So if there's someone that would like to ask one of the panelists a question, then this is the time to do so.
Hi, I wanted to ask Joanna, when you decided to start your yoga business, what kept you going? What was your drive? And also, I want to know where your address is and how much you charge.
Yes, ma'am. So the Embody Yoga Studio is located inside the Sherman Phoenix at 3536 West Fond du Lac Avenue. We're on the 3rd floor. 3536 West Fond du Lac Avenue, 3rd floor. And our drop-in class passes are just $12. We offer packages as well. But your question, original question, was what kept me motivated, what kept me showing up. I think it's really important, and Terrell spoke to this also, to really be passionate about what it is you're offering to the community and have a sense of conviction about it also. So for me, I loved yoga. I started practicing yoga in middle school, and I knew it was beneficial in so many ways. And so as a woman of color living in the United States, I knew that other people of color could benefit the same way that I had. But I knew that they weren't showing up in studios, because I was at the studio and I was the only black woman there in most cases, and not just in Milwaukee. Wherever I travel, I pop into a yoga studio, and more times than not, I'm the only black person there. I know representation is important. And so I figured if I became a yoga teacher, and other women of color could see me at the head of the room or doing yoga, then maybe that would open them up to the possibility of practicing yoga also. So I just, I took a leap and I did it. And so I remember the very first class that I offered, and when I started, I was literally only going to offer one class a week for 6 weeks. So I didn't really intend to start a business. I call myself an accidental entrepreneur. And then I just kept going, I kept showing up. But I remember that very first class, it was a free class, 14 people showed up, and they really liked what I had to offer. And I thought 14 was just such a huge number. And so then I kept showing up, I kept offering the class, and then slowly attendance dwindled to the point where there was nobody showing up. And there were many times, and there will be many times for these aspiring entrepreneurs in the audience where you will want to quit. But for whatever reason, I didn't quit. And I just kept showing up. And I told myself, as long as one person comes, like that's enough for me, as long as one person comes. And so it was actually Miss Sharon Adams, the founder of Walnut Way, who literally lived across the street from Walnut Way, where I was offering my classes at the time. She would show up. This little lady would show up every week, and she had limited mobility, but she showed up, and I think she did it just to keep me encouraged. And because I was consistent in showing up, then other people started to show up. Don't ever discount the impact that you can have by having a positive impact on 1 or 2 people at a time. That's how my business was built. So I kept showing up. One person would come, then 2 people, then the next week nobody would show up, and then the next week 4 people would show up, and I just kept coming. And now it's to the point where some of the classes that I teach are completely sold out week after week. We have people of color consistently showing up to practice yoga. We offer events in the community. I do things like the Yoga Day Party, where we would rent out a large part of Mr. J's, and I would have 60 women of color in one space doing yoga. So just never give up. Just keep showing up. Be consistent. Be good to people. Be fair to yourself. And I think you'll be successful in the end.
Thank you, Joanna. Any other questions? All right, I'm making my way to you.
How do you find a mentor?
I'm sorry, I didn't even see who just asked that. Was that you? Okay. You said, how do you find a mentor? That's a tricky question. I would say from the onset, like a lot of times, exposure, just creating opportunities for yourself to like just brush shoulders with other people is probably your biggest, thing. Like nothing can happen if you're not doing anything, right? So ultimately just making an effort. I mean, even if it's like, I wanted to be an architect ever since I was in 3rd grade. So me and like search engines got along just fine because I was gonna search everything. I'm talking about everything. I needed to know everything, but that was just being curious. So a lot of times if you're curious about something, you're thinking about starting something, you're looking for somebody to help you, like just literally find that person. Like if you, just like, you ever heard the term, searching for a person in the daytime with a flashlight? No, never heard that. But I mean, you just got to have some like, search for it. Like you intend to find it. So it's just exposure, it's meeting people. And a lot of times if you meet one person, they'll say, oh, well, I don't know about this. And also just actually talking to people about what you're trying to do is huge, because you never know who knows something, people who can, just relate you to one person or the other. So, just really being diligent and searching and creating those opportunities.
We're going to be wrapping up in just about 7 to 10 minutes, but how many of you on the panel actually have a or several mentors? Everyone. So if you don't mind, share with us, if you're okay with it, who is your mentor and how have they helped you? And we want to kind of keep it in a nutshell so we can hear from everyone.
Sure. So my unofficial mentor, because we never had this conversation or entered into a formal agreement, we just kind of found each other. But my mentor is Joanne Sabir, who is co-owner of the Juice Kitchen Shindig and also the co-owner and developer of the Sherman Phoenix. And so she actually helped me start offering classes at Walnut Way a couple of years ago, and then she became a student of mine. And I think she noticed the passion that I had for sharing yoga with people of color, and she saw my commitment. And over the years, she's rewarded that by presenting me with different opportunities, including being a part of the Sherman Phoenix development.
I would say probably, so actually one of the other African-American licensed architects here in Wisconsin, he's like, he won't mind me calling him this, he old school, but that's like a compliment in architecture. So Walter Wilson, I don't know if any of you all know him, he actually worked for the county. He's had his own practice. He's like, just been somebody that's literally been there before. But also, like, just to be honest with you, has been just like people that you run into, that you have conversations. To be honest with you, I learned something from everyone up here. So once again, just finding information. But I mean, it's just been, probably Walter Wilson and then other people just in the profession.
So I recently just got a business coach and mentor, and that's Deirdre Copeland of DCI Communications. We matched up through the RISE MKE program, but I've also found myself, I freely share information on how I got started, the things that you need to do to legitimize your business, and through natural conversations, you kind of end up finding yourself being a mentor to a lot of people that are around you, or you see that passion and you encourage. So find those reciprocal relationships that you already have with people, bounce ideas off. Vanessa is in the audience, and me and her have bounced ideas off of each other. And she has a flourishing business. Tiffany, how do you do or Vanessa, how do you do? Or Elle, how do you do? And it just happens, it just naturally happens like that. So look for that as the others have shared with you today.
So I got like one in every category. Somebody spiritual, somebody mentally, somebody who I want to be in good shape like, somebody who got money, I want to be had a money, you know, so find all of them. But just real quick, Tom Avery from Marquette 707 Center, Cheryl Mitchell from UWM Small Business Development Council, even Nathan Hammonds over with Marquette Law Entrepreneurial Clinic. That's one thing I was gonna say is pay your taxes. You know, don't underestimate. If you know, start a business is cool, but Uncle Sam, unfortunately, we gotta take care of him in Wisconsin and everybody like that. So, yeah, do that.
Probably my main mentor is Reverend Mary Lucas, who is a pastor who works heavily in the inner cities of Chicago with the gangs. Just seeing her drive, her commitment, her unwavering commitment to helping make those communities and the individuals live in them, you know, a better place has always been a guiding light and source of inspiration for me.
Most of my mentors, they probably wouldn't realize that they were mentors, but they have been. A lot of them in small ways and big ways. Mark at Susie's Cheesecakes and Joe and a bunch of those guys over there, they've been mentors, mostly because, you know, I keep showing up, they keep helping. And Deshay Ajee has been a big mentor of mine. He might not consider himself that, but, you know, we're the same age, but he's been a big brother to me in several situations. Renee at Wibbick has been awesome. And it's like you just pick up little things, and whatever you get the encouragement from is great. And where you get the sometimes people will be giving you advice, and it's something that you know, I have a degree in business management, and sometimes you know, you think you know how to do business, you think you know how to do that, and sometimes I'll be focused on getting in front of customers, staying in front of customers, and I'm looking at the trees instead of the big picture. So in those situations where they'll say, no, you really need to be focusing on this, you know, I leave the discussion and I come away better for it. And so it's a lot of mentors that probably don't realize that they are, but you guys have been, and thank you.
Thank you all so much for all of the great information. Can we give it up again for our panelists? Joanna Brooks, owner of Embody Yoga, Nick Robinson, the founder of Dream Builders, Tiffany Miller, owner of Fly Blooms and the Bronzeville Collective, Truman McGee, he's the founder of Funky Fresh Spring Rolls, and then you have Terrell Harris, who's the owner of Words and Images, and last but not least, Jonathan Dye, owner of Mr. Dye's Pies. You guys are a great example of everything that one would want to be when it comes to finding that niche and giving back to the community in so many different ways. So we thank you for all that you've done, and we thank God for your talent and your expertise. I'm sure if you have any questions for them once this is over, they will have business cards and all those good things to share with you. I just wanted to thank you all for coming out to Alderwoman Milele Coggs' 8th annual MKE Business Noun Entrepreneurship Summit. Have a great day.
Let's give it up for Andrea Williams. It's a great host today, moderator. So, in closing, there's a few things I want to cover. I want to publicly thank each of you for participating in this summit, and I look forward to what you do with the information and connections that you made here today. I want to thank everybody who presented for the workshops throughout the day. I want to thank each of these panelists for taking the time out of their day to come share some wisdom with you. I want to thank each of the vendors for coming today to share, as well as our sponsors, U.S. Bank, MLK Bid, the City of Milwaukee, NYPD Blues, Pizza, and Post Supermarket as well. But none of this would have been possible. I'm an ideas person, as you probably know, because I know some of you come to a lot of my events, where I think of these big ideas, but I always have to have a team to help make it happen. None of this would have been possible without their help. So with that, I guess it's time to end. This has been such a great day. Thank you guys again, and we'll see you next year. All right, thank you all for coming.